How are the learners assessed in the classroom? According to the Dacquel Order number 08 series of 2015, Policy Guidelines on Classroom Assessment for the K-12 Basic Education Program, in line with the implementation of the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, the Department of Education is adopting the enclosed Policy Guidelines on Classroom Assessment for the K-12 Basic Education Program. Classroom assessment is an integral part of curriculum implementation. It allows the teachers to track and measure learners' progress and adjust instructions accordingly. Classroom assessment informs the learners as well as the parents and the guardians of their progress.
What is K-12 grading system? K-12 Basic Education Program, or BEP, uses a standard-based and competency-based grading system. All grades will be based on the weighted score of the learner's summative assessment. Minimum grade is 60, which is transmuted to 75. Lowest mark is 60 for quarterly grades and final grades. Grades 1 to 12 are graded on written works, performance tasks, quarterly assessment.
Components of K-12 grading system. Number 1. Written works. It assesses learners' understanding of concepts and application skills. Number 2. Performance tasks. It gives the students freedom to express their learning in appropriate and diverse way. Number 3. Quarterly assessments. It synthesizes all the learning skills, concepts, and values learned in the entire quarter. Next, here we're going to know the weighted components of grade 1 until grade 12.
Kindergarten is graded according to the portfolio of the students have. It composed of writing samples, accomplished simple activity sheets, and artworks. This portfolio also can be used as evidence if the learners are able to accomplish the skills and competencies. The checklist also can be used as a record. Through these, the teacher will be able to indicate if the learner can demonstrate the knowledge or perform the expected task. And the last is the anecdotal record, where the teacher can describe the behavior, attitude, and effort of the children in the school.
Step 1. Get the total score of each component.
So the components of K-12 grading system are written work, performance tasks, and the last one is quarterly assessment. For our example, let us assume that we have a student named Miss Rhea Tagle. She is a grade 9 student and we are going to compute her grade in Araling Panlipunan for the first quarter. In getting the total score of each component, we have to consider two things. These are the raw score and the highest possible score. For the written works of Miss Rhea Tagle, she was able to comply all the 7 written works, and these are the scores, with a total of 140. On the second column, these are the highest possible scores of each written works, with a total score or with a total of 165. Next is the performance task. So she was able to comply all the 6 performance tasks as well. And these are the scores. The total of these scores is 92. Next column is the highest possible scores, and the total of it is 125. For the last component, we have the quarterly assessment. Ms. Tagle got 38 score out of 50 item. So let us summarize all the results. The total score of Ms. Tagle's written works is 140 over 165. For the performance task, she got 92 over 125. 25. And for her quarterly assessment, the score that she attains is 38 over 50. So that is the first step.
Step 2. Divide the total raw score by the highest possible score, then multiply the quotient by 100%.
After we get the total scores of each component, we are now going to get the percentage scores of each component using the formula for the percentage score. So percentage score is equal to total raw score divided by the total highest possible scores times 100. Let's begin in written works. Percentage score is equal to 140 divided by 165 multiplied by 100 is equal to 84.85. Next is performance task. Percentage score is equal to 92 divided by 125 times 100, we have 73.6. The last one is quarterly assessment. Percentage score is equal to 38 divided by 50 multiplied by 100 is equal to 76. To summarize it, the percentage score for the written work is 84.85. For the performance task is 73.6. And for the quarterly assessment, we got 76 percentage score.
Step 3. Convert percentage scores to weighted scores. Then, multiply the percentage score by the weight of the component.
Since we are now done in getting the percentage score of each component, in this step, we are going to convert that percentage scores to weighted scores using the formula for weighted score. So weighted score is equal to percentage score times weighted component. First, let us identify what are the weighted components of each component of K-12 grading system. In Araling Panlipunan, the written work is 0.30 or 30%. The performance task is 0.50 or 50%. And for the quarterly assessment, we have 0.20 or 20%. So these are the weighted components. Let us now proceed to the computation, starting in written works. Weighted score is equal to 84.85 times 30%. We have 25.46. Performance task. Weighted score is equal to 73.6 multiplied by 50%. We have 36.8. Lastly, the quarterly assessment. Weighted score is equal to 76 times 20% is equal to 15.2. So that is the process on how we can convert percentage score into weighted score. So let us summarize the result. The weighted score for Miss Tagle's written works is 25.46. In performance tasks, she has 36.8. And for the quarterly assessment, she gets 15.2 weighted score.
Step 4. Add the weighted score of each component. Then, the result will be the initial grade.
Since we already have the weighted score of each component, we can now proceed to step 4, which is getting the initial grade by simply adding all the weighted score of each component. So again, the weighted score for written work is 25.46. For the performance task, we have 36.8. And for the quarterly assessment, we have 15.2. Once we add all that weighted scores, the result is 77.46. So basically, the initial grade that we have is 77.46.
Step 5. Transmute the initial grade using the transmutation table.
After we compute the initial grade, we are now going to transmute it using the transmutation table. In accordance to the transmutation table, the equivalent value of 77.46 is 85. Therefore, the grade of Miss Bea Tagle in Araling Panlipunan for the first quarter is 85. So that's how we compute quarterly grades. How are grades computed at the end of the school year? At the end of the school year, the teachers will use two formulas to compute final grades and general average. The first one is final grade by learning area is equal to first quarter plus second quarter plus third quarter plus fourth quarter grades divided by 4. The second one is general average is equal to sum of the final grades of all learning areas divided by the total number of learning areas in grade level. For example, the table is the representation of the grades of Miss Bea Tagle in all subjects. In computing final grades, let's use AP as a sample. So final grade by learning area is equal to 85 for the first quarter plus 85 for the second quarter plus 86 for the third quarter plus 90 for the fourth quarter divided by 4 is equal to 86.5. So the final grade of Miss Tagle in Araling Panlipunan is 87. Once we apply this computation process in all the subjects, we can able to get these final grades in each learning area. When the final grades are all done, we can now compute for the general average. So general average is equal to 83 for the science, plus 95 for the math, plus 88 for English, plus 91 for Filipino, plus 87 for Araling Panlipunan, plus 91 for edukasyon or edukasyon sa pagpapakatao, and plus 90 for the MAPE divided by 7, which is the number of subject in grade 9 level, is equal to 89.30. The total general average of Miss Bea Tagle for her grade 9 level is 89%. That's how we compute the grades of our students at the end of the school year.
Learner's Progress Report. If the student get the outstanding in descriptors, the grading scale is 90 to 100 and remarks pass. If the students or learners very satisfactory, the grading scale is 85 to 89 and remarks pass. If the learner satisfactory, 80 to 84, the remarks is pass. And the descriptors of learners fairly satisfactory, the grading scales are 75 to 99, that remarks pass. If the descriptors or learners did not meet expectation, the grading scales is below 75 and remarks failed.
For grades 1 to 3, the requirements are: first, the learners should have the final grade of at least 75 in all learning areas. The decision is they may be promoted to the next grade level. Second one is if the learners did not meet expectations,
in not more than 2 learning areas, the decision is the learners must pass all the remedial classes for learning areas with failing mark to be promoted to the next grade level. Otherwise, the learner is related in the same grade level. The last one is if the learners did not meet expectations in 3 or more learning areas, the decision is they may retain in the same grade level. For grades 4 to 10 learners, the requirements are: first, the learners should have the final grade of at least 75 in all learning areas. The decision is they may be promoted to the next grade level. The second one is if the learners did not meet expectation in not more than 2 learning areas, the decision is the learners must pass all the remedial classes for learning areas with failing mark to be promoted to the next grade level. Otherwise, the learner is retained in the same grade level. The third one is if the learners did not meet expectations in 3 or more than learning areas, they may retain in the same grade level. Next is the learners must pass all the learning areas in the elementary level. The decision is first, they can earn the elementary certificate and promoted to junior high school. The last one is the learners must pass all the learning areas in the junior high school so they can earn the junior high school certificate and promoted to senior high school. So how are learners promoted and retained at the end of the school year? For grades 11 to 12 learners, the requirements are: first, the learners should have a final grade of at least 75 in all learning areas in a semester. So the decision is they can proceed to the next semester. Second, if the learners did not meet expectations in a prerequisite subject in a learning area, the decision is the learners must pass the remedial classes for failed competencies in the subject before being allowed to enroll in the higher level subject. The third one is if the learners did not meet expectations in any subject or learning area in the end of the semester, the decision is the learners must pass all the remedial classes for failed competencies in the subjects of learning areas to be allowed to enroll in the next semester. Otherwise, the learner must retake the subjects failed. The last one is the learners must pass all the subjects or learning areas in senior high school for them to earn the senior high school certificate.
What about recomputed final grades? Recomputed final grades is needed if one of the students attended a remedial class for the reason that he or she got a failing grade in any learning area or subject. For example, Mr. Juan de Castro, a grade 9 student, received a final grade of 73 in science. After he attended remedial class, he was able to get 85 for his remedial class mark. In order for us to get the recomputed final grade of Mr. De Castro, we are going to use RFG formula. So the computed final grade is equal to final grade plus remedial class mark divided by 2. For the computation, RFG is equal to 73 plus 85 divided by 2 is equal to 79. Therefore, the recomputed final grade of Mr. De Castro will be 79, and that is now the new final grade of him in science subject.
The teacher of the remedial class issues the certificate of recomputed final grade, which is noted by the school principal. This is submitted to division office and must be attached to both Form 137 and the school form. So, here is the sample of certificate of recomputed final grade.